Okay, so before we dive in and start creating our design, I just want to talk briefly about a technical consideration that you'll need to make when you're designing a website. And this relates to what we call your screen resolution. So I've just got an image here in Photoshop, and you'll see that as I zoom into this picture, if you're not familiar with this, you might have seen this before, but you can see that the picture is actually comprised of lots of little tiny squares, but the squares are so small that when we zoom back out of our picture we tend to not see them, and we refer to these squares as pixels. And when you're designing a website, you need to be aware that the computer monitor that you're working on actually is the image that you see on your screen is comprised of pixels, and different monitors have different pixel resolutions. So some of the smaller, older computers will have 800 by 600 pixels, meaning that there's 800 pixels that go across the horizontal dimension of your screen and 600 pixels vertically. I've listed a few different screen resolutions here. Be aware that there's a whole bunch more. These are just some common ones that people are going to have on their computers. So what does this mean for a web designer? If we're designing something that is going to be viewed on a screen, we need to make sure that our website is going to be able to be viewed on an average computer monitor resolution. These days, at the time of creating this video, most web designers are seeing the 800 by 600 screen resolution as being outdated. Therefore, we don't necessarily want to create a website that will cater for an 800 by 600 resolution. Ideally, you do want to cater for it because there are still people out there who have older monitors running 800 by 600. But these days, we tend to try and push this value up. Be aware that down the track, as you get more into web design, if it's something that you're interested in, it's possible to make a website that will stretch and shrink in order to cater for all resolutions. But what we're looking at now is creating a website that has a fixed width, and so it's really this first value here. The height doesn't matter so much. When we're viewing a website, we're very used to scrolling vertically up and down as we look at the website. But if we were to say create a website that was 5,000 pixels wide, you can see none of these numbers is anywhere near 5,000. So if our website was 5,000 pixels wide, you'd have people having to scroll horizontally all the time when they're viewing your site. So generally, most people these days are catering for people who have a resolution of 1024 by 768. So when we go into Photoshop, first thing we're going to want to do is create a new file. And if you're familiar with, if you've used Photoshop a bit before, probably what you're used to doing is specifying a size for your document in millimeters, inches, centimeters, something like that. So here I have a document, and I've got the width set to 21 centimeters and the height to 29.7 centimeters, size of an A4 sheet of paper. And this refers to our print size. So if I was to go and print this image now, it would print out at 21 by 29.7 centimeters. As I say though, if we're designing something for screen, whether that's a website or a computer game or something like that, we need to think in terms of pixels. So I said before, we're going to cater for a screen resolution of 1024 by 768, and you'll actually find a preset for that if you click on preset here and go to web, and then under the size selector you can go down to 1024 by 768. So that creates a new blank document for us to do our mock-up on. The other thing to be aware of, some people have systems used to get the width set for various screens, sort of pre-made templates. You don't have to go with that, but it is worth being aware that the scroll bar at the side of your browser window, this scroll bar here, that actually takes up a certain amount of space. So although we're creating a document that's 1024 pixels wide, if we're catering for a monitor that's 1024 pixels wide, our design actually needs to be a little bit smaller just to cater for that vertical scroll bar.